Imagine sitting across from one of the world's top cancer experts. They lean in, look you straight in the eye, and say, "There is one food that people eat every single day, a food so common, it's in your kitchen right now. And it is silently making cancer worse." That statement alone can send chills down your spine. Because what if, without even knowing it, you've been feeding the very disease you're trying to avoid? Everywhere we look, cancer cases are rising. Families who never imagined they'd face this diagnosis are suddenly thrown into hospitals, treatment plans, and endless worry. We often think of genetics, pollution, or just bad luck when it comes to cancer. But here's what most people don't realize: the choices we make at the dining table, 3 times a day, every day, could be fueling the problem more than we know. Now here's the shocking part: the food that this expert is warning us about isn't exotic. It isn't rare. It's not some chemical you can only find in a lab. It's something millions of people consume before they even leave their house in the morning. Something that seems so normal, so harmless, that we barely give it a second thought. Yet study after study is now proving it's like adding gasoline to a fire when it comes to cancer cells. And here's the most heartbreaking truth: it's not just about getting cancer. For those already battling it, this food can make treatments less effective, can weaken the immune system, and can even speed up the growth of tumors. Doctors and nutrition experts have been sounding the alarm for years, but food industries continue to push it into nearly every product on grocery store shelves. So in today's video, we're going to uncover what that food really is, why it's so dangerous, and, most importantly, what you can do about it. Whether you're over 60 and trying to protect yourself, supporting a loved one who's fighting cancer, or just trying to live healthier, this is information you cannot afford to miss. Stay with me until the end, because once you learn the truth, you'll never look at your plate the same way again. To understand why a common food can make cancer worse, we first need to understand how cancer itself survives and spreads inside the body. Cancer is not just a single disease, it's a collection of over 100 different diseases, all with one terrifying trait in common: uncontrolled cell growth. Normal cells in the body live by strict rules. They divide when necessary, repair themselves when damaged, and die off when their time is up. But cancer cells are rebels. They ignore the rules, bypass the body's safety checks, and start multiplying endlessly. What makes this even more alarming is that cancer cells are not just random accidents, they're clever. They find ways to hijack your body's own systems, almost like thieves breaking into your home and using your electricity, food, and water supply against you. One of the most critical things cancer cells need is fuel. And what's their favorite source of energy? Sugar. Scientists call this the Warburg effect, named after Dr. Otto Warburg, who won a Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer cells consume glucose at far higher rates than normal cells. While healthy cells use oxygen to generate energy efficiently, cancer cells prefer to gobble up sugar, fermenting it quickly, even when oxygen is available. This makes sugar the ultimate fast food for tumors. Think of it this way: imagine you're trying to put out a fire. If you throw water on it, the flames die down. But if you throw gasoline on it, the flames explode. That's what happens when cancer cells are fed high levels of sugar and refined carbohydrates. Instead of starving the disease, you're giving it the exact fuel it craves. But sugar isn't the only problem. Processed foods filled with unhealthy fats, preservatives, and artificial chemicals create an environment of chronic inflammation inside the body. Inflammation is like having a small fire burning in your tissues all the time. Over months and years, this weakens healthy cells, damages DNA, and makes it easier for cancer cells to grow undisturbed. It's as if the body's defense system is distracted, leaving the door wide open for disease. Another way food affects cancer growth is through insulin and hormones. Every time we eat sugary or starchy foods, blood sugar spikes, and the body releases insulin. High insulin levels don't just regulate sugar, they also act like growth signals. For cancer cells, this is an invitation to multiply faster. Research now shows that people with high insulin resistance, obesity, or type 2 diabetes are at greater risk of certain cancers, partly because their bodies are constantly bathing cells in these growth-promoting signals. Finally, cancer cells are masters of survival. They can trick the immune system into ignoring them, they can develop new blood vessels to feed themselves, a process called angiogenesis, and they can even become resistant to chemotherapy. And what makes them stronger in all of these areas? A steady supply of the wrong kind of food. This is why so many cancer experts warn about diet, not as an afterthought, but as a frontline defense. Cancer thrives on certain fuels, and if we keep feeding it, we're making its job easier. The food you eat daily could either help starve cancer cells or help them grow. Which brings us to the shocking truth: the food most people eat every single day, often without thinking, is the very one that feeds and strengthens cancer. And in the next section, we'll finally reveal what that food is, and why it's more dangerous than most people realize. If you've been wondering which food cancer experts keep warning us about, the answer might shock you with its simplicity. It's not a rare chemical, not a food you've never heard of, and not something exotic or unusual. It's sugar, and its close cousins, refined carbohydrates. Yes, sugar. The same sweet crystals you stir into your tea, the syrup that hides inside soda, the harmless treats we reward ourselves with, and the hidden ingredient tucked away in sauces, cereals, breads, and even so-called health foods. It's everywhere. And experts are now saying that our overconsumption of sugar is one of the biggest drivers of cancer growth. Why is sugar so dangerous? To answer that, let's go back to what we learned about cancer cells. These rogue cells thrive on glucose, sugar in its simplest form. When you eat foods high in refined sugar or starchy carbs, your blood sugar spikes. Your body responds by releasing insulin, a hormone designed to shuttle sugar out of the blood and into cells for energy. But cancer cells don't just take what they need, they take more. They are like greedy guests at a buffet, loading their plates again and again, while your healthy cells get crowded out. Multiple studies confirm this. In fact, PET scans, the very imaging technology doctors use to detect cancer, rely on this principle. Patients are injected with a sugar-like substance, and the scan tracks where it collects. And guess what? It lights up brightest where cancer cells are, because they devour sugar at far higher rates than healthy cells. In other words, even our medical technology proves what scientists already know: cancer loves sugar. But the danger doesn't stop there. Sugar sets off a chain reaction in the body that makes conditions worse in several ways. Chronic inflammation: high sugar diets trigger inflammation, which acts like a smoldering fire in the body. Over time, this damages tissues and DNA, creating fertile ground for cancer. Obesity and hormonal imbalances: excess sugar is stored as fat, and fat cells don't just sit quietly in the body. They release hormones and inflammatory chemicals that promote cancer growth, particularly breast, prostate, and colon cancers. Weakened immunity: the immune system is your natural army against abnormal cells. But studies show that just a single high-sugar meal can reduce immune cell activity for hours, leaving cancer cells with a free pass to multiply. Resistance to treatment: emerging research suggests that cancer patients with high blood sugar levels often respond worse to chemotherapy and radiation, because sugar strengthens cancer's survival mechanisms. Now, here's where it gets even more troubling: sugar doesn't always look like sugar. The food industry has found over 50 different names for it: high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, sucrose, evaporated cane juice, and more. Even foods marketed as healthy, like granola bars, flavored yogurts, fruit juices, or low-fat snacks, often contain alarming amounts of hidden sugar. You may think you're eating smart, but you're still feeding the beast. And let's not forget refined carbohydrates, white bread, white rice, pasta, pastries. The body breaks these down so quickly that they behave almost identically to sugar, flooding the bloodstream with glucose and keeping cancer well fed. It's no coincidence that populations with diets high in refined carbs have soaring cancer rates compared to those who stick to whole, unprocessed foods. For seniors, the danger is even more urgent. As we age, metabolism slows down, insulin sensitivity decreases, and the body struggles more with regulating blood sugar. That means sugar hits harder, lingers longer, and does more damage. A 65-year-old eating the same sugary snack as a 25-year-old will face far greater risks, because the body simply can't handle the overload. Cancer experts across the world are sounding the alarm. Dr. Lewis Cantley, a leading researcher in cancer metabolism, put it bluntly, "Sugar scares me more than anything else." He and many others believe that controlling sugar intake could be one of the most powerful tools in both preventing and managing cancer. And yet, sugar consumption continues to skyrocket. The average adult consumes more than 70 to 90 grams of sugar per day, far exceeding the World Health Organization's recommendation of no more than 25 grams. To put that in perspective, that's about 6 teaspoons, the amount hidden in just one can of soda. One drink, and you've already blown past your safe limit. This raises an uncomfortable truth: sugar isn't just a sweet indulgence. It's an addiction. Studies show that sugar lights up the brain's reward centers much like drugs such as cocaine. That's why it's so hard to quit, and why food companies deliberately add it to products. They know it keeps people hooked. But here's the good news: knowledge is power. Once you understand how sugar fuels cancer, you can make smarter choices. You can begin to see the hidden sugar traps around you and start replacing them with foods that nourish rather than harm. And as countless survivors will tell you, changing your diet can be one of the most empowering steps in taking control of your health journey. So now we know the enemy: sugar and refined carbs. But here's the tricky part: they don't just come in obvious forms like candy and desserts. They sneak into foods you'd never suspect. And in the next section, we'll uncover the hidden sources of sugar lurking in your daily meals, and how to finally spot them before they do more harm. When most people hear the word sugar, they think of candy bars, soda, cakes, and cookies. And while those are certainly heavy offenders, the truth is that sugar hides in places you'd never expect. In fact, some of the foods most people think are healthy can actually contain just as much sugar as a dessert. This is why cancer experts warn that avoiding sugar isn't just about cutting sweets, it's about becoming aware of the hidden sources that sneak into your diet every single day. Let's start with breakfast, the so-called most important meal of the day. Walk down the cereal aisle of any supermarket and you'll see boxes marketed with bright colors, labels like whole grain or fortified with vitamins, and pictures of happy families. But turn the box around, and you'll find that many cereals are packed with 10, 15, even 20 grams of sugar per serving. Add milk, and maybe a spoon of sugar on top, and you've already had more than half of your daily safe limit before 9 a.m. Next up, drinks. Sugary sodas are obvious culprits, but fruit juices are often just as bad. A glass of orange juice, for example, can contain the sugar equivalent of 4 or 5 oranges, but without the fiber to slow absorption. Smoothies, sports drinks, and flavored coffees can push your sugar intake into dangerous territory without you even realizing it. Cancer researchers emphasize that these liquid sugars are especially harmful because they rush straight into your bloodstream, creating massive spikes in blood glucose and insulin. Then there are the so-called low-fat foods. Back in the 1980s and 1990s, food companies began removing fat from products to market them as healthier. But here's the catch: when fat is taken out, flavor disappears. To fix that, manufacturers started adding sugar, and lots of it. That's why low-fat yogurts, salad dressings, and snack bars often contain more sugar than the regular versions. The irony? People thought they were making healthy choices, but they were actually fueling obesity and cancer risks. Even savory foods aren't safe. Ketchup, pasta sauce, barbecue sauce, canned soups, and even bread often contain surprising amounts of added sugar. A single tablespoon of ketchup can hold a teaspoon of sugar. Multiply that by the number of condiments, sauces, and sides eaten in a day, and it's easy to see how sugar sneaks in unnoticed. Processed and packaged foods are also riddled with sugar under different names. Companies know consumers are catching on, so instead of writing sugar on the label, they use terms like high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltodextrin, cane syrup, molasses, agave nectar, or evaporated cane juice. All of these are still sugar. The trick is simple: if one ingredient looks too obvious, they break it down into multiple forms of sugar so it doesn't appear at the top of the ingredient list. For seniors, this is especially concerning. Many older adults rely on ready-made meals, canned goods, or packaged snacks because they're convenient. But these foods are often loaded with hidden sugars, which not only feed cancer but also worsen conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, all of which increase cancer risk further. So what's the solution? Awareness. The first step is learning to read labels carefully. If sugar, corn syrup, or any of its aliases appear in the first 3 ingredients, it's a red flag. Another rule of thumb: if the product comes in a package and has a long ingredient list, chances are it contains hidden sugar. The food industry has made sugar nearly unavoidable, but with knowledge and careful choices, you can begin to cut it out of your daily life. And the reward is not just reducing your cancer risk, it's reclaiming your health, energy, and control over what goes into your body. Now that we've uncovered where sugar is hiding, the next question is, why does it make cancer outcomes so much worse, even for people already in treatment? The answer lies in how sugar and refined carbs interfere with your body's ability to fight back. Let's dive deeper into that next. We've covered a lot in today's video, and I know it may feel overwhelming. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. We started with the shocking truth that cancer experts are warning us about: a common food, sugar and refined carbohydrates, that doesn't just harm overall health but can actually make cancer worse. We explored how cancer cells crave sugar, how it fuels their growth, how it hides in everyday foods, and why seniors are especially at risk. And here's the message I want you to take with you: you are not powerless. While genetics and environment play roles in cancer, your daily choices, what you put on your plate, what you drink, what you snack on, make a massive difference. Every time you choose real, whole, nutrient-rich foods over sugar-laden, processed ones, you're strengthening your body's natural defense system. You're helping your immune system do its job. You're making it harder for cancer to thrive. Think about it: if cancer cells feed on sugar, then cutting it off is like turning off their fuel supply. Imagine a car running out of gas. Without fuel, it stops. In the same way, when you stop giving cancer cells the sugar they crave, you make it harder for them to grow and spread. That doesn't mean you need to be perfect, or that you'll never eat something sweet again. But it does mean being aware, making conscious decisions, and understanding that every small change adds up. And remember, this isn't just about fighting cancer. The same diet that starves cancer cells also protects your heart, balances your blood sugar, keeps your brain sharp, and helps you stay strong as you age. It's a win on every front. So here's my challenge to you: starting today, take one step to cut back on sugar. Maybe it's swapping soda for water. Maybe it's choosing whole fruit instead of fruit juice. Maybe it's cooking at home instead of relying on processed meals. Just one step. Then tomorrow, add another. Before long, you'll notice the difference in your energy, in your health, and in your peace of mind. Now, I want to leave you with hope. Cancer is a terrifying word, but it is not the end of the story. Researchers, doctors, and nutrition experts are uncovering more every day about how lifestyle choices can transform outcomes. And the best news? It's never too late to start. Whether you're 30, 60, or 80, every positive change makes a difference. If this message resonated with you, please share it with someone you love. It might be the spark they need to make a life-saving change. And if you found value in today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because we'll be sharing more science-backed health insights that can truly change lives. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. What surprised you most about today's topic? Was it the hidden sugars, the way cancer feeds on glucose, or the connection with everyday foods? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read each one, and your story could inspire someone else to take action. Take care of yourself, protect your health, and remember, every choice matters. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and keep fighting for the healthiest version of you.